It's been almost a century since mutual funds were introduced to the world, and a little over 60 years that mutual funds were introduced in India. To understand the journey of growth that mutual funds have experienced, not just globally, but also within India, we have with us a very special guest. A guest who is a veteran in the asset management industry, a guest who is someone that most of us as investors and professionals really look up to and admire. With us, we have today Mr. Swarup Mohanty, who is the CEO of Mirai Asset Management Company. So, Swarup, a very warm welcome to the Fisdom Wealthcast.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a long association with Fisdom, and it's so great to see how the organization has grown. So, really a pleasure being with you today.
So, Swarup, as always, I'm super excited, stoked to speak with you. And today's topic is also very exciting. कहते हैं म्यूचुअल फंड्स ने 100 साल कंप्लीट किए हैं इंट्रोड्यूस होकर, and within India, little over 60 years, if I'm not wrong, it was UTI that started the first mutual fund, and ever since then the industry has been growing from strength to strength. And like we were speaking a while back, the global mutual fund industry was birthed, they say, that is a reported story that's going around, by someone who was an erstwhile aluminium pot seller, Edward Leffler, right? And this was 100 years back, around 1924, that he brought mutual funds to the public at large. This was the first ever experience that the general public had with capital markets and the ownership of fractional shares in a way through mutual funds, right? So since then, we have come a really, really long way. Today, the industry, global industry, is pegged at around $63 odd trillion. Indian asset management is at around over 55 lakh crores now, and Mirai Asset has been one of the key drivers of such growth within India. So first things first, without any further ado, what are your comments on the growth that mutual funds have seen as an industry, as a product, not just on the global landscape but also within India? What are the factors that you think has led to such a great meteoric rise?
See, I think first of all, one has to understand that, the mutual funds or any of us associated with capital markets, this is a financial asset. And typically, the investor grows through a journey. And in any country, the journey would have started with fixed assets and graduated towards financial assets. I remember when I joined Mirai Asset 12, 13 years ago, one of my global heads had said equity in India will start when real estate becomes very expensive. So all these things are correlated, and that is why you see, it's been 60 years, which you can divide in probably two parts. It started with the public sector funds, and then the birth of private mutual funds at 25, almost 30 years now. It's only when the private mutual funds came in and over a period of time that we build certain track record. And due to some other changes in other asset classes, that the exponential growth or the real growth of mutual funds or penetration started. And one can say that started in as late as just 5-6 years ago. But what can happen from here can be dramatically different to the journey so far.
Right, it's amazing how we have come so far. And there's one story, really intriguing story that I came across in the Financial Times. In fact, what was so much more surprising to me is the title, right? It was on the lines of MF's complete 100 years. Is it becoming obsolete? So this was, of course, in the global context. And I feel the substance revolved a lot around the advent of more sophisticated products like, high frequency trading setups, cryptocurrencies. And even in India, we are seeing people taking to direct stocks and, trading and, a variety of such, investment routes, investment/trading routes for wealth creation, of course, at the end. What are your comments on this? Do you think mutual funds are actually becoming obsolete, at least in India? Have we gotten there as yet?
See, actually, if you look at the journey of investing, the investing moves depend on various asset classes. I used to do this presentation on the movement of money. And if you look at India in per se, earlier the rich would be the kings,
yes, and
their asset was land, right? And then as it progressed, the kind of money, or worldwide, the kings would own land and jewelry, which was, in today's world, real estate and gold, right? Then it would progress to oil. The rich of the world would become oil owners, and since oil was restricted to a certain amount of people, it couldn't be owned by everybody. But if you look at the rich of today or the real wealthy of today, they own equity as an asset class. They own companies which are listed, and the value of their wealth is the value of their company in the stock market. Hence, the asset class today that the wealthy own is equity. Hence, this asset class being so relevant in today's time. This journey will continue. There will be other asset classes which will emerge, and investors will continue to take that journey. The beauty of mutual funds is that it's a pass-through vehicle.
Yeah.
It can give you any of those assets in this form. So maybe the present form of mutual fund can come to a certain age or something, but the journey of mutual fund is perpetual. The underlying might change. It's too early to comment, because I don't think at this moment the underlying being the asset classes that are relevant now, and which I dare say will remain for some time, it still has a long journey ahead. The composition of that is changing. I mean, if you compare us to, say, the rest of the world, we in India practically invest in market caps, large cap, mid cap, small cap में अपना portfolio हो जाता है. But if you go globally is now seeking out new ideas, new themes, big ideas within themes. So they have graduated out of market cap investing to ideating new possible ways. So maybe the next step could be to get into that. We are seeing the birth of thematic investing in a small way in India, though themes have been there in India for 15-20 years. Some of our themes are now 12-13 years old, and they are performing as good or probably better than many of these core market cap funds. But as it progresses, and yes, I do see change, and change should happen. Why not? And that's how a product is tested, and I really would want the product I represent in the market be tested with time, and there is no bigger test than that.
Absolutely. In fact, for the viewers who don't know this already, I personally love Mirai for the fact that they have been bringing in such amazing investment themes, and giving Indian investors access not just to international themes, but also several themes and concepts that were otherwise not available. I would credit a lot many industry firsts to Mirai, and thank you for that. So now that you're so passionate about mutual funds, and towards the end I saw a certain sense of pride when you said that I would love to see my products get tested across time cycles as well, right? So this makes me really inquisitive about your personal story, your first experience with mutual funds. When was the first time you interacted with mutual funds as an investor, as a personal investor?
See, I think I've also taken the journey of the industry. Earlier, I used to work on the fixed deposit sides of NBFC. So, in those days, the interest of fixed deposits were pretty high. We used to get 14-15% from FDs of very large, good companies, strong companies. So, money was there. But I moved to mutual funds in the late 90s, and that's when I started investing in mutual funds. Initially, most of my money was in the debt funds, which we call income funds there, because the yields there were substantially decent for us as investors. But my first brush with equity was towards the end of the 90s or the beginning of 2000, and I started in a certain way, and that investing process has no correlation to what we are now. I mean, when you start, your investing process is always a return chasing process.
Yes.
And you want to get that best return or the highest return, or the romance of the market takes over. But as you grow as an investor, you realize that it's a risk mitigation process. And the closest your investment is to your own risk, the better your investment avenue is, or experience is. A bulk of all my money is in mutual funds, right? Initially, I used to invest in stocks. I was that brash, trying to find out which is the best stock. But very quickly I realized those were not my skills, because you were investing based on somebody else, and invariably those tips never worked, and you lost a lot of money in that process to learn. And today all my money is in mutual funds. But lately, in the last 4 or 5 years, I have graduated to investing in some alternates. So 10% or maybe 10-12% of my money is in alternates.
I'm super curious. Which alternates are we talking about?
No, as people's careers progress, some of my friends started their own companies.
Oh.
So they gave me this great opportunity to participate in their startup. So I have 5 startup companies which I invested in. All people I know very well, who are budding entrepreneurs with very differentiated businesses. No, I don't invest in similar businesses, 5 different businesses. I'm very thankful they gave me the opportunity to come in. But in the last 3-4 years, my wife's taught me this avenue of art and it's incredible to see the talent of artists that are there in India. So some of our money has gone in there. I wouldn't exactly call it investment because we're not buying to sell it, but owning some of these incredible artists is an experience, and she's been teaching me this. So I'm taking to that in a very graduated manner.
And you're known to have a keen eye and ear for good art in various forms, right?
Not me, my wife.
At least music?
Yeah? Music, yes.
Music also, I would consider it an art
Yes,
form.
I call music my therapist. So, I mean, and it's so great, worldwide. Somebody who sung a song, say 40 years ago, you're listening to that in the car when you come in. That's immortal music for you, and it gives you so much of, what can I say, pleasure and just appreciation of such artists is always great.
Absolutely. So with your love for music, one thing was clearly reflected, your love for equities, right? When you spoke about alternates, you first spoke about other companies, that too in equities, right? In a form, it is equity at the heart of it. And इससे पहले जब आप बात कर रहे थे, आपने हल्का सा जिक्र किया कि I invest in, when I started, I was return chasing and I was looking after the romance of the market, right? And this is something that I feel many in the younger generation can relate to. Who are just starting out, and there's this continuous debate, and thanks to the way markets have been the past couple of quarters, or I would say the recent years, the charm of direct equity investing has really taken India by the storm, and especially the younger generation. In a world where we were just coming to terms with mutual funds and investing, suddenly trading and day trading is coming up as a very exciting thing to the younger generation's minds. Of course, they haven't seen a full cycle. So what is your advice to the younger generation who are thinking, who has just started his first job, who has just gotten her first salary, and he or she is trying to invest somewhere, someplace? How should they decide between direct equities and mutual funds? Both in equities, but how?
So I'll come to that as the second answer. But the first thing is, when you start doing your job or you start earning money, I think you have to understand two things about your life. Your life will go through a progression, and rightfully so. You're doing a job to achieve certain things for yourself as well as your career, and in that process you will want a lot of materialistic things. All those materialistic things will come through money. So money is very important for you. That's one. Either you earn it through your salary or business, whichever, or you start creating what we call a pool of passive income through investing process. One thing you must ask yourself at the beginning of that journey is, what do you want from your life in that money form? If you do not know what you want, then you will not know the investing journey. So ask yourself why you want to invest, and from that starts the journey. And if you want to invest for a certain purpose, the meaning of that journey becomes tangible. Then you are going to achieve something meaningful for your life through that journey. I wish somebody had told me this when I had started some 30 years ago, because I was mindless. In everything that you do, you have a purpose. Put that purpose first. And if that purpose then leads you a certain return, right? If I want, say, 10 lakhs in 3 years, today the return I need would be this much. That would define the asset class that you should invest in. Now, if that return comes from equity, fine. If it comes from debt, which is far safer than equity, why don't you invest there? Right? Till you don't know why you want to invest, you will never know where to invest. That's point number one. Second, the difference between when I was investing 30 years ago and today, and the young are so fortunate to be connected in this world of internet through the phone or whichever means, information is no longer hidden.
Correct.
So if you have the right information for anything you want to do, you have a better or more informed way of going through that process. So if I were young today and I am inclined to be in the equity markets, I would definitely back myself to buy direct equity. Nothing wrong with it. But my humble request is, do it with your own study.
Correct.
Back yourself. There is information available, and investing is a lot of common sense. Back your common sense. Don't invest because somebody else is telling you something. That's where 9 out of 10 times you will go wrong. And that one time which you got right, you probably live in that illusion and make more mistakes. So back yourself with the information. Learn the vagaries of the market. Learn how the market works. If you think that's your cup of tea, then please do it. Nothing wrong with it. If you don't want to do it, and then through that process you understand that it's a very complicated world. There are enough qualified fund managers in this market who have shown incredible track record and skill over the last 20-30 years available to you at a very nominal fee, right? Come to the fund manager. And in that fund management process, there are two ways of investing. There is the active way of investing, there is the passive way of investing. Both have their own pluses and negatives. You decide what you want. Now, if you say, fine, this is not my game and I want to do crypto, understand the crypto market. Don't go into the market because somebody else has made money, right? If you understand it more than the return part, please understand the risk part. And that risk is okay for you, go for it. What's stopping you? It's a big world out there. But the simplest and the best way, if you don't want to do those complications, is come to a fund manager. More important, I think, form your financial plan. Work on the plan. On the day you achieve your plan, please go and fulfill your dream. Don't wait for the next day. You are living your life for achieving certain goals, certain dreams. That should be your main criteria. And true, when I was investing, the concept of financial planning was not there. Today you can Google it, it's no rocket science. I would recommend everybody to come to the Fisdom website and see how easy it is to make a financial plan.
Correct.
Right? But making the plan is very easy. I'll just give one last caveat, is that 5% of your wealth is created by where you invest. 95% of your wealth is created by your ability to hold that investment, remain disciplined to the plan, and review and rebalance that plan. But 95% of discussions happen on where you invest, and 5% of discussions happen here. That is why people do not create the kind of wealth that the market is creating. So one has to keep that in mind. Thankfully, all this is available at your fingertip. You can Google everything I say. But become more qualified in your investment and make investment part of your life or a meaning to your life.
Correct. I feel there's just so much value that you delivered, of course, throughout the entire conversation. But this last bit, there's so much that I am taking away, personally. And, it's just wonderful how you elucidated on the right approach. I feel you made one point very clear, that it doesn't matter what are you investing in. You must know why are you doing that, and two, you must form your own capabilities and achieve excellence in that. Do not go just because.
No, I have this big debate with my son, and every time I get him, he sneers. Why do you have to get me into the whole thing? This is a debate I had with him, say, 5-7 years ago. But today, when he sees his portfolio taking a certain shape, he's now excited about it.
Correct, and that's where the wisdom helps us think better and approach life better. I feel all of us are fortunate that we got the opportunity to take this wisdom, and like they say, it's always better to look at the world while seated on the giant's shoulders. So in this conversation, you were the giant and we were sitting on your shoulders. But I feel it was wonderful as always. This brings us to the close of this conversation, and I feel we are really leaving it at a high note, and we have many answers, but at the same time, I feel there's a lot for each one of us to ponder upon and think and introspect for our own selves and do much better for ourselves in our own financial and personal lives. So thanks a lot for that, Swarup. As always, a great pleasure, and thank you, and thanks a lot for sharing such valuable insights.
No, thank you so much for having me. Always such a pleasure talking to you. We've done so many in the past, and it's always been wonderful chatting up with you.
Likewise.